Okay, so okay, there's another person here. Okay, we're going to start today. Remember last week we saw a little bit of gerunds and infinitives. If you already saw the also the for those who didn't were in the class last week, maybe you saw already the video. But we're going to see today gerunds and infinitives part two. And I know that you will like it because sometimes some of these things that we're going to see today, they're not like very common for people to teach or to for us to learn it. Maybe you already know it, but it's good for us to see that. So we're going to see some of the grammar part. Then we're going to sorry to explain part two of the reading and use of English test. Then we're going to see some vocabulary and we're going to practice listening today. And at the end, we're going to do the speaking parts. Remember, we practiced a little bit part three. So for those who didn't practice part three last week, maybe you guys can practice it today. And we're also going to see how part two of the speaking part works. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's start right away with the part of the grammar, gerunds and infinitives, part two. Let me just share here very quick. Okay, so well, we know we have already seen that some after certain verbs, right? We know that we need to use gerunds. After certain verbs, we need to use infinitives. But there are certain verbs that we can use both, right? For example, the verb like, or the verb hate, or the verb prefer, or also hate, also, right? After these verbs, we can use both. We can use a gerund and an infinitive. For these verbs, the meaning of the idea changes a little bit. For example, and this rule that I'm going to tell is for all these four verbs. If I'm going to be using a gerund, for example, if I say I like playing, I like playing basketball, right? So if I'm gonna be using a gerund with like and the others, is for me to talk in general. If I'm just talking things in general, yes, I like playing basketball, or maybe you can say I like playing sports. Maybe that's like more general, right? Or I'm sorry, I say I'm missing love. I'm sorry. What is love? So it's like, love, prefer, and hate. So with these verbs, again, you can say, yes, I love dancing. Maybe I know Wendy's dances, right? So I love dancing, right? So in general, when we just talk in general, then we can use ing. But what happens if I use these verbs with an infinitive? If I want to use these verbs with an infinitive, that means that it's a habit, a personal habit that I have. For example, you can say, yes, I like to drink green tea every morning. So you see, that's a specific habit that you have. So that's why you're going to be using an infinitive.
I'm
With,
sorry, teacher.
yes,
I have a question.
yes.
And what about if it's something specific? It's okay if I use infinitive too?
For what verb, Wendy? For what? For which?
When I use I love, I don't know, I love to speak English, for example. It's specific. I love speak English, to
Yeah,
speak English.
probably. Well, probably that phrase can be like in general. Yeah, I love speaking English, but maybe in a more specific, you can say, yes, I love to speak English in my with my classmates.
Yes.
So if you want to be more specific, it's two, right?
All
And
right.
it's the same thing with all these verbs. Yes, please, guys, if you have questions, please ask me, okay? And it's the same thing with all these verbs, right? Maybe you can say, I hate uh, I hate driving to San Jose in general, right? Just talking in general, right? But maybe you can say, I hate to drive, or maybe you can say, I hate to take the morning bus to work every day, right? Maybe you are talking a more specific way. So in that case, we can use an infinitive. Any questions before we continue? Any questions regarding this? Is it clear? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, please, again, if you have questions, let me know. Okay. Now, there are also some other verbs that they totally change in meaning. These ones, we already know that it's a little bit of change, right? But for example, with the verb stop, okay, with the verb stop, if I'm gonna be using ing, if I say, for example, I stop drinking coffee, right? So if you use the stop with a gerund, that means that no more coffee forever. I stop drinking coffee, no more, right? But if you use,
That's impossible,
yeah,
teacher.
that is impossible. Yeah, I think that's a bad example, right? Maybe people can say I stopped smoking. Have you heard people saying that? Well, that means that that person is gonna smoke anymore, right? Or maybe the doctor told you no more coffee for you, right? So it's okay, I stopped drinking coffee now. But if you use stop with an infinitive, you say I stop to drink, sorry, to drink coffee, right? That means that you stop for a moment and then you just continue. Maybe you stop drinking coffee for a moment while you were maybe on the phone, and then you start drinking coffee again, right? You stop for a moment, right? So that is a difference with stop, right? With ing, that means that no more, whatever, right? I stop, I don't know, whatever. I don't know if you have an example that you maybe
I stopped dancing. I stopped dancing in the party.
well, if you say, yeah, Haida, if you say that you stop dancing, that means that you're not gonna dance anymore. No more dancing forever.
Okay.
Like, for example, in Spanish, like dejé de fumar. I stopped smoking.
Okay.
Dejé de beber café. I stopped drinking coffee, right? So, so you see, but maybe you can say, yes, I stopped to dance for a moment, and then I start dancing
I
again.
stopped dancing is the correct way to say it's something that we have to repeat it after an hour, maybe.
No, if you need to repeat it, is with an infinitive.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay.
I stop to dance. Right? That means that you stop for a moment, or you stop for a day or two, and then you can continue, right? But if you remember, with ing is no more whatever you're saying, right? For example, I've heard for my family, in certain way, we have stopped drinking milk in certain way, right? Because we heard that it's bad or whatever, right? But so you see, no more milk forever, right? So that's something that you guys can well learn, right? Is it clear, this one? Any other, is it clear? Okay, ing, no more. To, just stop for a moment, right? We have another one. We have the verb try. If you say, for example, I try, or maybe we can use it in the past, right? I tried to open the window, right? Okay, what happens if you use an infinitive with try? That means that you tried doing something, but you didn't accomplish it. Okay, so if you say, well, I tried to open the window today in the bus, right? Maybe you try and you didn't do it. Why? You're using an infinitive. Okay, but what happens if you use it with a gerund? If you say, I try opening the window, that means that, yeah, you try and you made it, you open it. Right? So that's something also very interesting. Just by saying, yes, well, I try to study with the platform. Maybe somebody some people says that to me at the end of the course. Well, I try to really study the platform. That means that you tried. Maybe you watched the platform once, and that's it, and no more, right? So you tried, but you didn't do it, right? So, or if you say, yes, I tried starting with the platform, well, excellent, because you did it, right? You're using a gerund. That means that you tried and you did it. Okay. So again, so you say, for example, I tried, the same example, I tried opening, right? I tried opening the window, right? Then that means that, yes, you tried and you did it. Okay. Questions about this one? Is it clear? Wendy, Maricel.
It is clear.
Yes,
Okay,
totally
perfect.
clear.
Okay, perfect. Okay, and we're gonna see one more. Okay, I'm sorry for. I hope. Well, this is gonna be recorded, right? But if you also are writing, that'll be great. Right? We're going to see another one, and it's the verb regret. The verb regret. Have you heard that verb, regret? Yeah, como lamentar, right? I regret.
Yes.
We use it a lot sometimes, right? Oh, I regret, right? But in this case, if you want to use regret with an infinitive, for example, you say, well, I regret to tell you, be careful, because if they start a sentence with regret and an infinitive, bad news. Bad is the person gonna tell you some bad news. Okay, so maybe that person might tell you, well, not you, but somebody else might say, yeah, I regret to tell you that that you're fired. Right? Well, those are bad news for the present, right? Well, I regret to tell that you're fired, right? So when you use regret with an infinitive, is bad news for the present, right? But what happens if you use regret with a gerund? Well, that totally changes, because if you say, well, I regret dating I don't know, dating that person, whatever. Okay, so that means that that would be talking about when you regret something in the past. Like in this case, it will say like, lamento haber sido novio de esa persona, right? I regret dating that person. Or I regret starting that job, right? That means that maybe you start a job in the past and you regret doing that in the past, right? So interesting, right? This type of things are very, very interesting, because now again, remember, we are seeing gerunds and infinitives that we can use it in both ways. In this case, stop, try, and regret totally changes, and the other ones, they change a little bit, right? Like, love, prefer, and hate, right?
Teacher,
Uh-huh.
sorry, can
Yes.
you explain again the example of dating that person?
Okay, well, in this case, yeah. Well, I say dating, but I can use another. For example, I can the other example that I say, I regret starting this job, or starting that job, right? So okay, so when you use it with a gerund, you're talking about the past, something that you regret in the past, right? Lamento haber iniciado este trabajo, right? So when you use it with a gerund, that means that you regret something, but in the past, that you did something in the past. Is it okay? It's clear,
Perfect.
right?
Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. You're welcome. So in general, this is what we are seeing regarding gerunds and infinitives part 2. We might continue with something else later in some other classes, but I always like to take advantage of this moment to teach you maybe things that normally people don't teach us, right? So and also very important things that is going, I mean, these type of things are also going to help us for the test, right? But remember that in this studying for this test is also great, because we grow a lot as teachers, and we can also learn, right? And even start teaching things, right? So any questions in general? Is it clear, so that we can go then to the other part that we have for today? Clear?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Hi. Hello. I'm sorry.
Oh, Layli.
Not for me, because I actually wasn't in the last class, and also I got a little bit late.
Okay.
So let me see if I, one second. Let me see if I got it. Okay. When we use, for example, in this case, regret with infinitive, it means something in the past. And when we use it with, I forgot the other one.
A gerund?
No, exactly. With infinitive is, we are talking in what tense?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me help. Layli, right? Is that your name or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Layli-
maybe.
Okay, Layli, when we use regret with an infinitive, is bad news in the present. Bad news in the present.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
When you use regret with a gerund, is something that you regret in the past.
In the past.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Perfect. Yeah, please ask me any questions. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Remember that last week we saw how to, well, how the, remember that this test has reading and use of English. The second part is writing, listening, and speaking, right? Is divided in 4 parts. The first part, reading and use of English, has 9 different parts. We saw part 1. Do you guys remember part 1? What was it? Remember, it was like a text with 8 different gaps, and you need to choose A, B, C, or D. Remember? And we saw what you need to study for those parts. Now, part 2 of the reading and use of English, it's a little bit similar to part 2. It's going to be something like this. Okay, so it's a text with 8 different gaps. Remember that number 0 is always the example. I always tell you that because in the answer sheet, you might get confused with number 0. Please don't get confused number 0, because then everything's going to be wrong in the answer sheet. So number 0 is going to be always the example. You start with number 1. Okay, so in part 2 of the reading and use of English part of this test, you guys are going to see a text with 8 different gaps, but this time I have bad news for you. I regret to tell you that that they're not going to give you any options this time. Now, so you might tell me, so what do I need to do? Well, based in your grammar knowledge, you need to know what word to put in this text. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you what you need to study for this part. Okay, so let me help you with don't cry, please. But let me help you with what to study, and maybe we can do it together. Okay, so do you guys remember we did something very similar on what we're doing right now, but for part 1, right? Now it's part 2. Okay, for this part, we definitely need to study quantifiers, right? Many, every, each, etc. And I'll be asking you, maybe who would like to do the first one? It doesn't have to be these ones in a specific, it can be some other quantifiers, right? So for example, here in sentence A, what will you put here? For example, there were only people at the zoo yesterday. Who would like
Few.
to?
Few.
Correct. Few, right? Very easy, right? Excellent, Susana. So yeah, there are only a few people at the zoo yesterday. Also, remember the collocation? Remember we saw last week what a collocation was? I actually sent you a book of collocations, right? And so I don't know if you have already seen that book, but I mean, you have a whole book of collocations there that you can enjoy. But in this case, yes, we need collocations like set an example, change the, for example, set goes with example, change goes with subject, change the subject, be in favor of, right, etc. So who would like to do, for example, sentence B, where it says, I expect you to, your promise to give me a lift. What do you think collocates with promise here? Who would like to say that one? Nobody knows? Okay, let me help you. In that case, is I expect you to keep your promise. Okay, so now we know that keep collocates with promise. Okay, so I expect you to keep your promise to give me a lift, right? Okay, now let's go with the other. What do we also need to study for this part? Determiners, right? Determiners like some, the, etc. This one is very easy. I've lived in
In
Yeah.
the, in,
Ah,
in the
right, right.
US.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The, very easy, right? I live in the USA for some years now. Models, please. We need to study models also for this part. Would, should, must, can, could. For example, here, I don't know who would like to do D. You absolutely,
I will say must not use this part through the value. It's dangerous, I think it says.
very good,
I will
Maricel.
say must not, yes.
Very good, very good. It's must. Maybe you can say, but how do I know it's must? Well, the clue there is absolutely, right? So you absolutely, I mean, maybe that's a mom, right? You absolutely must not use the path through the valley. It's dangerous, right? So very good, Maricel, must, right? Also, we need to use, well, different verb forms, right? Like done, taken, see, etc. Which word or which verb will you use here, right? His,
Done working.
he's done working on his car for 2 hours
I don't
now.
know. No, sorry.
The thing is that we have, remember, there's a clue that I want to help you with this, Susana and everybody. Every time, yes.
Yeah, I will say he's been working.
Okay, well, very good. Is being,
And working.
in this case, is he has, right? How do we know? Remember that most of the times when we have for or since, is also present perfect, right? That's a clue. When we have for or since, it's going to be always present perfect, right? So he's been working on his car for 2 hours now, right? Very good, very good. Now, those phrasal verbs, please, we need to definitely study phrasal verbs for this test. Start, again, in the book that I sent you of collocations, you can find a part over there of phrasal verbs. Please, at least start, at least looking at them, right? Because, for example, we have like give up, carry on, make out. But here, which one we use? Susie has taken. Which one, which phrasal verb do you think goes there? For example, remember when instead of saying like, yes, I start this course, or you can say take up. So in this case, we say Susie has taken up photography. That means that she has started photography, right? So she has taken up. So take up is when you start something, a course about something, whatever, right? So in this case, Susie has taken up photography, right? Now, pronouns, we need to study pronouns for this part, like me, it, that, etc. Who would like, this one is I would say is not that difficult, it's easy. Which who would like to do G? Tom hurt while playing football. He had to go to the hospital.
I will say it hurts him.
What is it?
Hurts him.
Himself.
Himself.
Himself,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh.
Tom hurt himself while playing football. Very good, very good. Relative pronouns. We need to study relative pronouns like who, whose, which, etc. This one is very easy. Who wants to do it? My wife?
Who or that?
Who? Right, remember that? Yeah. We're going to see, actually, in one of the courses, we're going to see when exactly to use that or who, but yeah, but in this case, yeah, my wife, who is Brazilian, works in the university. Very good, very good. Comparisons, we need to also work or study comparisons. Here, for example, who wants to do this one here? Suzanne has twice as in this case, we already have the comparison, right? It's as and as here, right? But we just need to fill it out. So how can you fill out this comparison? Because it's already here, right? We have here as, right? Remember, that's another way to compare. And actually, today, in the speaking part 2 of this test, you will see how important it is to compare. But remember, that's another way to compare, right? We can say, yeah, that building is as big as the other one, right? But what do you need to complete this comparison in this case? Suzanne has twice as.
But close to use it with many or with much?
Many in this case.
Many, okay, as many clothes as I do.
Very good, Layli. So Susan has twice as many clothes as I do, right? Very good. Linkers, we need to study linkers. For example, if, although, before. Who would like to do J? You won't lose weight.
Unless.
Excellent, excellent.
Mhm.
Unless you go on a diet. Very good. I think we're doing good in this part. And prepositions. I have read different well about this test a lot, and they say that in this part, like maybe even sometimes even 60% of this part is about prepositions. So we need to really study prepositions here. Well, this one is very easy, right? What do we say here? According
2.
to, right? Very easy, right? According to the website, all flights to Berlin are delayed this morning. Okay, so let's do. I have here a little practice. I'm gonna give you some time, and let's do this right now. You can just, of course, just write the answers, right? And let's see how you're doing, and we're gonna check it in maybe in 2 minutes or so. Okay, so let's start doing this part, and I'll be asking you in 2 minutes if you have finished or no, maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, so let's start right now, and let's see how it goes. Well, let's try to do it, and at the end we're going to check it. Let me know when you're ready, please.
I have to be honest, teacher. This is kind of hard if I don't have options. So I'm trying to guess, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
no, I know,
Yes.
I know we're not used to this type of exercises, right? But that's how part 2 of this test is, right? And this is like just like an evaluation, right? Because we need to study what I just told you, right? It's good for us to remember that at least every week, what we see that we need to study, we should take the time to study, right? Okay, well, I'm going to study determiners. I'm going to study today, right? And that can help us a little bit, right? But this is just to see how you guys are doing in general. But I know, yes, that it's difficult to do something that they don't give us options, right? But let's see how. Put something, always put something, right? Never leave anything without feeling, always write something. Okay. So we can give one more minute. Okay, ready to check? Ready or do you need a little bit more of time? I mean, a little bit more time?
Hi, a little bit, please.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
gonna, I was gonna say that time is won't make the difference here.
Time won't make the difference. Okay, well, no, don't worry, Susana, we can at least try to put something. Try to put something. Okay, let's check it. Ready? Yes. Okay, the number one, let's see. And I would like to know how many correct you got, okay? At least in this type of exercises, every time there's 8, we need to have at least 5, will be okay, right? 5, 6. But let's see. Number one will be spend. Spend their time, right?
Why not waste?
Let's see, because let's see, unlike events that most people. The thing is that we waste is like maybe a little bit more like negative,
Like
right?
negative connotation.
Like negative,
Yes.
negative. So that's why in this case it's not like that negative, right? So that's why it will be spend, right? Then next one will be unless one has already happened to them. Number 3 is
I wrote, however.
however one has.
No.
Yeah, probably no, probably not. Yeah, it would be unless in this case, yeah, it's no, we yeah, definitely unless. Then number 3 will be the preposition that one was a surprising number, right? Number 4, few. Few are afraid. Next one has 2 different options. You can use if or though, right? If it is something or though. Then number 6 is very easy, right? Then